Hey, y'all. We're glad you're here today, and you found us at the Casseroles and Tacos podcast. And I'm Katie, serving up casseroles from Middle Tennessee.
I'm Andrea, always serving up tacos out here in California. And today we have a really exciting show today, Katie. I'm so excited to be here with you talking about something a little different and super special, near and dear to our hearts, and that is building bridges. I know we talk about food a lot, and food is obviously at the core of so many of our discussions, and I'm sure we'll get back around to that today too. But we're really super excited to have a really awesome conversation with Katie's cousin today. Katie's cousin's name is Jess, and we're going to have an awesome conversation about some beautiful things that Jess is doing in her life, the things that the Lord has called her to, and how we can be inspired and help out. So Katie, I'm going to pass it off to you over there with Jess. I'd love to hear all about what's going on with you in Ohio today.
That's right, Andrea. Our family is in Mid-Ohio this weekend for a family event. And I really wanted to take this opportunity to introduce my cousin Jess to you all. She's done amazing things in her life, and the Lord has done amazing things in her life. And I'm so proud of her. And, I want to jump right in and tell you what she's doing. We are in near Mansfield, Ohio. And first of all, welcome, Jess. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Great to be here.
So glad our schedules worked out too, because you're headed off tomorrow somewhere. We are too. So, all right. I do certainly want to let Jess tell what she's doing, tell the ministry how it got started. We are, Jess, as you know, Andrea and I are very interested in building bridges. And Jess is a bridge builder. And she's offering, with some friends of hers, the ministry, offering a place of refuge for some very special children in the city. So, would you like to start out by telling us, tell us about the ministry? And,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Great.
Well, what I am doing right now, I'm the house mother for a ministry called Room Ministries, Mansfield. And it was started by a couple of my friends, Brennan and Libby Robinson. What Brennan was doing was going into the juvenile correctional facility in Mansfield, Ohio, having Bible studies with these kids. And I call Brennan the child whisperer because he just has a way of connecting with these teens. And he realized that once they got out of jail that they really didn't have anywhere to go that was safe. So they were getting out and just going right back to the streets and getting in trouble. So he decided that he wanted to have a home or something, somewhere for them to go to hang out, to have Bible studies, to have meals, for them to have fellowship so they would be safe. And so he started this ministry called Upper Room, and it began in like an apartment building with his wife. And he had a couple volunteers that helped him. And it was really strange. I knew Brennan and Libby probably 5 years ago. We all worked at Cracker Barrel and we were all drug addicts, and it was just very crazy. And then we just kind of went our own separate ways. And about 1.5 years ago, God put them on my heart, and I didn't know why. I knew nothing about their ministry, and I just started praying for them. And then I realized we went to the same church and found out about their ministry. And it was really strange. I was working at a greenhouse that I loved and wanted to own. And I actually, it's really interesting. One day was working with a pepper, and I hated it. And I had hated it all season long. And it was the end of the season, and I really was ready to throw it away. And I think my boss was a little annoyed with me, and she too told me just to throw it away. And I was just like, well, maybe give me just a minute. Maybe I can clean it up. And she gave me a time limit of 10 minutes to clean this little pepper plant. And as I was cleaning this plant, I peeled away these dead leaves, and I noticed like 20 perfect little bell peppers on this plant, and it was green and beautiful, and it completely just amazed me. And when my boss came back, she I think she saw the shock in my eye, and all she said was, "Isn't God amazing?" And just walked away. And that seriously changed my life that day. And that was the day I actually called Libby, because I knew her. And she also told me, she's just like, "Jessie," she's like, she's like, "We can change that plant." She's just, "We can sell it at full price." And I don't know why, but it just made me realize that, we so often want to throw things away without realizing what's underneath them. And we want to toss things aside, and we don't want to take the time to see what's really going on. And that was kind of the same thing that Brennan and Libby were doing with these kids. These kids are in jail, and all we see is someone that's causing trouble or is selling drugs or numerous things, and we don't want to take the time to see what's really going on. So I called Libby and I said, "I just want to come and talk to you." And they had just purchased this house. I don't want to say new, because it was one of the first houses ever built in Mansfield. And I seriously walked into this house, and it too was a greenhouse, and I can't explain to you.
You mean the paint?
Yes, the house was, okay. Not
you
an
went
actual
from one to another,
yeah.
one greenhouse to another.
I walked in and I was just like, crap. And she started talking to me about these kids that they've been ministering to, and I just knew God was doing something in my heart, and I was excited and sad at the same time, because I had a feeling that my life was about to change, and I wanted to grow plants. And I had this idea of helping troubled teens with teaching them how to grow plants at my greenhouse I was working at. And she saw this upper room greenhouse as a place of nourishing kids. And she's just like, "I see it as a place for our lost boys and a place to help them." And I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to start coming. I'm going to start helping. I'll pray for you guys, whatever it is you want me to do. And I started going. At the time, we did Wednesday nights, and we had a meal with them. And that was really about it. We had dinner, Bible study, and then the kids played games and basketball. And I just fell in love with these kids. They're just little puppy dogs. They just looked lost and broken. And you get to know them, and they were like little baby peppers. You start to peel away the layers, and you realize that these kids are just lost, and they are worth the time, and they are worth the effort. And I just knew that, and again, I was really torn, because I had my own plans, but I realized at that moment God was doing something else for me.
Yeah. And, his timing is perfect. It's not always what we plan, but you had some health issues and you could not go back to the greenhouse physically. You had some things going on, and your doctor is a friend of yours, or he's acquainted with your situation, your life, right? And so, you walked in hoping to get released to go back to the greenhouse. But then what did he say to you?
Yes. This was probably, I would have to say, 6 months later. Last fall, they actually asked me to move into the house and become the house mother. And again, I was still really torn, and I had to pray about it. And I was having health problems, and I had surgery in the spring, and I was still at the time praying about moving in. They had also asked me to start a community garden with these kids. So everything that I wanted to do was happening, but somewhere else. So I had this surgery, and the surgeon, he also went to my church, and I had told him a little bit about what I wanted to do. And so when I went back to have my release to go back to work, he told me that I could not go back to work, that the job I was doing was killing me. And that he's just like, this place you were working at, this Upper Room Ministries, he's like, go do that. He's like, go help these kids, go teach them. He's just like, now is your time to teach. You cannot do anymore. And he really spoke the words that I had been praying. And again, it kind of broke my heart, but it was a confirmation at the same time. So I knew, and just like you said, it was God's timing is perfect. So I knew that's what I needed to do. So this was this past spring, and I was like, okay. So I became the house mother there at Upper Room. And
I know that was hard for you, because I know we communicate often, and I know that you did the greenhouse with the plants in it was in your heart, and I do know, and you would have been great to own that, but and just because God's timing is perfect doesn't mean it's easy for us, and but we can look back and see. So they welcomed you in, and you moved in to the house that's greenhouse, and it's officially called Upper Room Ministries. And you moved in when? What month?
I moved in May.
Okay, so you've been there for 5 months. Good.
Yes. And
That's
it is
amazing.
it is a very large house that needs a lot of work. And I knew that when I moved in, but I was just like, I'm up for projects. So I have 2 teenage children, and I share custody with their father. So they live with me half of the time. And like I said, it's a project. And yes.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And these kids, the house to them, they say it's like a palace, because their homes are not that great, and they don't really care what it's like, because they are loved there. And the volunteers we have love them with all of their hearts. I feel like everyone that is there, God has brought there. And we pray, we have prayer meetings every morning, every Monday morning, And I just really feel the people that have come, just like they have a heart for this ministry, and they have a heart for these kids. And I just feel like God is moving constantly. Yes.
Wow. It's honestly just like I'm just like captivated sitting here listening, because to hear really like not just what God is doing and how amazing it's been and the journey that you've been on. And first of all, thank you for sharing part of your story, because I think when we're vulnerable and we share our stories with each other, that's the beginning of bridge building, right? When we're able to open our hearts and share our own experiences. And so first, I want to thank you for sharing just that part of your story. But I'm also completely amazed by the cohesiveness of it all, the greenhouse and the concept of how God used the plant to show you what he's capable of, and restoration and all these amazing things. And it's absolutely incredible to hear. And I'm just sitting over here in awe, just listening to this amazing story. And I just wanted to, interject a little and just thank you so much for sharing it with us. It's amazing to hear what God's doing.
Yeah, it is. And his timing is not only is his timing perfect, but I love the whole greenhouse analogy. The upper room didn't start in that house that's green.
No.
It started in a room that was actually upper.
Yes,
upper
it
room.
did.
Is that where the name came from? Or was it
yes, it did.
A biblical reason?
No, it started because it was in an upper room.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's where Jesus met with his disciples, was in the upper room.
I'll tell you, we haven't been over to I call it the greenhouse, but we haven't been over to the upper room yet. And I don't know if we're going to get to on this trip. This was a fast weekend trip. It was either us go take a tour of it or share this podcast with the world about what she's doing. And I certainly wanted y'all to hear that. And, so So yeah, we'll visit it. But I understand there's a lot of work to do. I mean, first of all, it's an old house.
Yes.
So, I love old houses, but there's a love-hate thing with any old house. I love and it's, there's a lot of work to do, structurally, physically, from what I understand. There are needs. Can you tell us a little bit about, what, I know you just mentioned the devotional and things, but give us a better idea of what happens in the house.
Okay.
Whatever you want to say about what happens, what goes on, how the children are children. They are children, young adults.
Yeah.
Are fed and nourished in every way.
Well, it started, like I said, it started with just the Wednesday nights. And then Wednesdays, like I said, was a meal. So how that starts is I cook dinner on Wednesdays, and our volunteers will bring sides to go along with it. And we all gather together around one very large table and have dinner together. And then we have a Bible study and discussion. And sometimes the kids don't want to be involved, and sometimes they do. The kids range from ages 13 to 20. So
okay.
I call them kids because they really are, they're kids. They really are kids. Even these 20-year-olds, they call me mom because they don't have much of a home life. They were never nourished like I was, or like you were. They don't know they don't know how to love. They don't know how to love themselves. So they very much are kids in every sense of the word. One in particular, he has his own apartment, but he would rather be at the house with me all the time.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so once I moved in May, we were open all the time. So the kids were free to come every day whenever they wanted, between the hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's when I started my community garden, and I had some kids come and help me do that. Some became more of a project that I did, but a few came and helped me. And at first they were mad because they said I was taking away from their basketball court and their yard until they started to see things grow. And they were just like, Miss Jess, this is beautiful. I'm like, yes, it is. And so it was neat for them to see something beautiful instead of the ugly, it was really ugly actually. So to see something beautiful grow and for them to sit back there and enjoy it was really nice. And then for them to see vegetables and to actually be able to eat them was great.
And to have a part in that.
Yes.
They say, whoever they is, they say that if children participate in gardening, well, anybody really, but they'll be more apt to eat certain foods. So just seeing that and having that constant.
Yes.
They know that they'll go there after school. The garden will be there.
Right.
Things might be in a chaos at home. They will go there, and that is there. So that seems to me that when you said that, it spoke to me as that was a peaceful thing for the, it's a constant. It's a point that they could go to, a focal point. And so,
right. And it did become something peaceful, I believe. And I mean, at first, when I was first there, I think I was a little discouraged because no one was coming. And I think it was because they didn't know me at first. They were so familiar with Brennan and Libby. And then they did start to come. And it was, you guys talk about food all the time.
Yes.
And it was food.
No joke. That's right.
They are so used to, we live, our house is right beside a drive-through. So they're used to Mountain Dew and potato chips and candy bars. And I started making them homemade meals, and they're like, oh, what is this?
For free.
Yes.
So
and so I think it was the food that drew them in.
Absolutely.
And they knew they could have a meal every night. And I'd be chopping up herbs, and they'd be like, what's this? I don't eat herbs. I'm like, you eat herbs in your food every night, actually.
Right. So you're feeding them you were not only nourishing them physically, but healthy foods. And that's awesome. And it didn't cost them, doesn't cost them.
No, it does not cost them.
That's great. And Andrea and I, we both believe, right, Andrea? I mean, food can really build bridges. That's really what drew me to Andrea and her website or blog in the beginning of knowing her, because just the idea, of just food can build bridges. I love what you're doing there with that. So you're only cooking one meal a week now?
No, it started with one meal a week on Wednesday nights. And that was when all of the volunteers, Brennan and Libby, all the kids, we all gathered together. And then once I moved in, the kids started coming every day. So that was just me. So during the week, it's just me and whoever shows up. And I cook a meal every night for whoever is there. Wednesdays, it's everyone. We also have a boys disciple group on Tuesday nights. One of our volunteers does that. And then Thursdays, we have a girls group, and that's just once a month. But we do not really have many girls that come. It's mainly boys. Really? And I think that's really interesting as well, because I always had a heart for lost boys. And it started with this book I read like 14 years ago about these lost boys in Africa. These little lost boy soldiers that, were taken from their homes to fight in Darfur and the Sudan. And just so to see God, like, I took a very, very dark path, but to see God have planted that seed in my heart, and like, it didn't, like, he planted that seed, and no matter where I went, he led me back. Like, he had a purpose and a plan. And so I always think, like, it started with a seed. And like, I even tell the kids that I'm like, we may not see what happens in your life, but those roots are there. Like, and even our volunteers, I'm like, we get discouraged when these kids go back to jail or if we don't see them for a long time, but that seed has been planted and it will take root, and we may not see it, but it's there. And yes, like, so we feed them every day. So, I mean, that food does cost money. Like, we get food donated, but, we get donations from people, but it costs money. It's a very, very big house. That house, costs money to, for electricity, for cleaning supplies. Like, I wash these kids' clothes because they don't have, their clothes are dirty. Some of them show up at 6:00 in the morning and they need to take a shower because they have to go to school. And I'm like, okay. And the shower is right beside my bedroom, and I just have to pray they don't steal everything in my room. But, I trust that will not happen. And some of these kids, I mean, I know they would never do that. And some of them, it is just trusting God that they will not. They are, I really believe in this mission, and I believe that these kids, like, they need somewhere to be. They need,
And you're
so to clarify then.
Go ahead.
Sorry. To clarify, they're not staying overnight. So they come whenever they knock on the door in the morning, and then you just close up and lock the doors at a certain time for everybody's safety.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Andrew.
Jess, I think you're walking in such a level of grace and understanding that is so inspiring and so important. And I want to take a minute to point that out, because
thank you. Yes.
Just the sheer concept that you're viewing the entire situation from their hurt and from their place of brokenness, and not their actions, but the source and cause of their actions, is such an important example of grace that I think even in our own lives and whatever, even just as parents, I think that that's such an important mindset to have when we're dealing even with our own children, that when they're behaving in a certain way or when they're doing something that we don't approve of, that there's a reason for that behavior. And of course, that extends into much more intense situations like yours, where there are circumstances and things that may or may not happen, that the grace is so important. And so that place of love that you're coming from is so admirable and so important, and such a good example for all of us in whatever our walk of life is. Like, we're not all called to something so magnificent, right? But what we are called to still requires that grace and understanding to be the core of what we do and where we're coming from. And I think it's such a beautiful example and an amazing reminder. And I also want to say that I think, yes, the fact that you feed them, food will always bring people to you. I think that that's kind of, obviously that's what I stand for, but, it's not just that, Jess. It's the fact that you're all around a giant table together. It's the fact that you're sitting as a family, that you're serving family style, that you're nourishing their heart and their mind as you're nourishing their bellies. And it's so incredibly important that you have that sense. It's beyond community. It's not just a sense of community. It's a sense of family. And I think it's so, so beautiful. And I just feel like that needs to be pointed out. I just want our listeners to really think about that for a minute, because it's something that we can all apply to our own lives to some degree, to some level. And it's super powerful and very important, the power of the table, regardless of what your situation is.
Mm-hmm. So true. I agree. And that's very well said, Andrea. Very good. The table, man, family dinner table makes a difference. Your family might not look like the next person's family, but, Wednesday nights downtown Mansfield in that greenhouse that needs a lot of work, they're sitting around that table as family and sorry, I'm just proud of Jess. She's already mentioned, and I'm going to say this because she's mentioned it. She's struggled in the past with drug addiction, and she's a beautiful story of redemption of herself and restoration, and I thank God for that. But, Andrea, too, one thing I've been thinking yesterday when I heard her testimony, her talk in the church we were in, and then sitting here today, and I mentioned to her parents, my Aunt Linda and Uncle Bill, yesterday, I said, the Lord has brought Jess where she is, but she is, she can do what she's doing because of the foundation she got in their home, and just basic, learning how to cook and garden and so forth from her mother. And the value of the family dinner table, but, and she's the perfect one for this job. And Brennan and Libby too, because of their past, they're the perfect ones. I can't go in and do that. Katie is not the perfect one for this, but there are other things I can do. I can tell people about what they're doing. Now here's my heart. And I'm not joking when I say this. When she was talking yesterday, I want to go in there sometime when we come back to Ohio, if with your permission, Jess, I want to go in there and cook this huge meal of fried chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy and biscuits and green beans and cream corn and sliced tomatoes.
Oh,
and
they
fried
would love
okra,
it.
and squash casserole and banana pudding. Mm-hmm. That is what I can do. And I'm serious. That is what, how can Katie help? That's the very first thing I think of. So we can all do different things to help. We all can't be Jess. We all can't be that person who lives there and struggles, honestly, struggles. I mean, with how are we going to pay for how are we going to buy the groceries for next Wednesday night or, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I just encourage us all to find ways to help. We all can't do the same jobs. We all can't help in the same ways, with any situation around ourselves, but we can empower others to do that. We can tell others, give the information and share. So I just want to point that out too, because this is not something I could do, but I can do my part. And that's what I think building bridges is all about. Andrea, don't you?
I agree.
Do you agree?
I do. And I think you touched on something very briefly that I think is really important too. And it's, there's so many things, Jess, that you've talked about, feeding people who need a little extra love and support, and a community garden. These are all things that I have a vision for in my own life. And so there is this part of me that's like super motivated and inspired by everything that you're saying. And also I have to recognize, like Katie said, like, this is not my time at the moment. Like there is something that I'm called to, and it's in the process, and it's a matter of patience and walking it out. Right. But something you touched on, Katie, is, and I think all of our listeners will be able to glean something from this. There is something we are each called to. There is something for each one of us. There's a plan and a purpose for every one of us here, and a plan and a purpose for Jess, and a plan and a purpose for every one of those kids that she's ministering to. And we may not know what our plan and purpose is going to do for future generations. So your aunt may not have known, Katie, that investing those hours of time, teaching skills and these kinds of things, she would have had no way of knowing, Jess, that you would be using them in the way that you are. But she was faithful in doing what she felt the Lord was having her do for you. And we need to remember that too, as we're raising our children, guys, that we don't know what God's going to do with what we feel led to teach them. And we may not always understand why we feel led to teach our kids certain things or to invest our time in certain areas, because we don't know what God's going to do with them in the future. But we do have to remain faithful to those things, whatever they may be. And I think that's a really beautiful reminder for me. And I'm hoping that our listeners will glean something from that as well, because sometimes we just need that reminder that we're not doing monotonous work. We're not doing things that are a waste of time. Like, there's a plan and a purpose behind everything, and investing in our kids is investing in their future. And Jess now is investing in kids' futures that are not her biological children, but also her biological children. But I'm saying, as far as the kids in the upper room, gosh, to be able to extend that love and that and God's love and her, what she's called and ordained to do is it's really inspiring. So yeah, I think it's really a powerful bridge to build. I think it's something that is, like I keep saying it's just super inspiring. And I keep saying that because it is. So sometimes better words fail you when you're just like, wow, that's awesome. Like, I can't just keep saying that, even though I kind of want to. But yeah, it's a powerful bridge, and it's a powerful thing that's happening that God is building. And what a blessing to be able to be a part of it, Jess. I am super impressed. But I have 2 questions. One, because we ask this to everyone. When we had Renee on several months ago, Katie, your cousin Renee, and we always ask everyone the favorite meal. But now I want to know, do the boys have a favorite thing that you prepare for them?
Let me think. Well, they love pizza, but that's always when we order it. I would have to say tacos. They love tacos.
You're kidding.
Come on. All right. Let's preach that over here.
And it turns into...
You got a hallelujah over here.
Huge, messy taco salad. And yes, they love tacos.
Oh, funny.
Oh, I love it.
And one night I made them. I was just like, one of the kids had asked for Chinese, so I made them fried rice. And I went all out Chinese because my parents used to be missionaries in Indonesia, and Mom taught me how to make Chinese food. And so I tell them we are having fried rice, and these kids are like, we don't eat fried rice. And the minute I say stir fry, the food is gone. So it's like words, the words you use, changes everything. What's the difference between fried rice and stir fry? Right. But that was probably their second favorite meal, was that stir fry and tacos. They're big on tacos.
I love that. I see the universal language tacos are.
Yeah.
The universal language of love, I tell you. But it's so funny, Katie, you were talking about wanting to go and cook them a meal, and all I was thinking about was going and making them tacos and beans and rice and the whole thing. So it's so funny that you and I swear Katie and I are somehow related somewhere along the line, because we think exactly the same. The whole time I'm listening to you, I'm like, man, I want to make these boys tacos. I want to go cook for them.
That's and you know what? And we laugh, but seriously, that's Andrea. That's what you and I do. We feed people, we nourish people, we build bridges, we set the table, we sit at the table, and food is that's our ministry, and that's okay. That's okay if everybody can't go in and be a house mom. It's okay if everybody can't go in and make a big meal. Everybody can help in some way. I don't mean just in this upper room ministry. I mean everybody can help others in some way. And
I think it goes back to something, again, to reference Renee again. I feel like that's pretty funny because it's also your family. Obviously there's a cohesive beauty to your family. So when Renee said something on the show that we were on, and I was explaining to her, there's a level of frustration sometimes when you want to help And you can't, like, I can't get to Mansfield, Ohio, right? So like physically I can't be there to help. And I was explaining to her, like, there's times when I get very frustrated because I have this vision for how I want to reach people and bridges I want to build and unity I want to create. And I get so frustrated. And she said, you can only minister to one heart at a time. And so, we have it on our heart to feed people. We have it on our heart to sit around the table. However, we cannot forget the fact that the next step of that is this beautiful opportunity to minister to a person's heart. And it may be one person, and it may be a room full of boys like Jess has, but there is one heart at a time for you to focus on and minister to and love, and to genuinely love without agenda, without judgment, without these things, without any selfish gain in mind or anything. It's simply, I'm loving you right where you are. I'm exercising grace as I do that. And I genuinely want to nourish you. And you nourish your heart, nourish your belly, right? It's such a, it's actually a huge privilege to be able to do that and to be used that way by God. And it's humbling and it's powerful. And, but yeah, sometimes it's just one heart at a time. Now, that being said, I do want to give our listeners an opportunity to learn more about how they can support the Upper Room. So Justice, can you tell us, ways that we could, get out the word to help support what you've got going on there?
Yes, we actually have a Facebook page. It would be Upper Room Ministries Mansfield. And there is I believe there is a way you can donate actually on that page. And, also, if you wanted to donate, like, I am considered their missionary. So when I left, my greenhouse of plants, I became unemployed. So my job is strictly donations. So if you wanted to support me, you would also go to that page and just donate to the house mom specifically. But just go to that page. I mean, there's tons of pictures. There's videos. That way you can see the kids that we're ministering to. And like you were just talking about, Renee, a lot of my time is like one-on-one with these kids. And these kids are beautiful. I spent all day with one kid in particular, and he was actually very encouraging. He's trying really hard. He just got a job. He starts college tomorrow. And he was going to go to the juvie and see some of his friends and try to encourage them. So we are trying to, raise leaders, because they're going to listen to these kids more than they listen to us, because they've been on the streets with them and they know what it's like. So that is our end goal, is to get these kids to become the leaders. They're going to be the ones that change Mansfield, not us. So that's what we need, is we need more helpers. We need more, prayer. Like, prayer is a big thing, because Satan does not like this. And so, to get the word out, to get people to know what we are doing, to know that these kids are worth it and that these kids have needs. Some of these kids need help with school, with clothing, with food for the house. I clean that house, and it takes me 2 days to clean that whole house. Just supplies. But I just want people to know what we're doing, because it's worth it. And there can be more upper rooms in Ohio and this nation. Like you said, these kids are worth it. And there's kids all over this country that need this. And I really believe in it. And I mean, at just the right time, God will put it on people's hearts to, get involved and do the exact same thing, hopefully.
I believe that.
Yeah, I do too. And I believe in Jess, and I'm vouching for her. You guys know me, you know Andrea. I tell you, she doesn't get a salary. She's already said that. And she gave up her salary at the greenhouse with plants to do this. and they do run on donations. They're just getting started. So it's just, we're just, how it is at the beginning of any ministry like that. It just, getting steam up. But, so yeah, she does, no bones about it. She does need donations. We're doing this podcast. We want to tell the world about what they're doing. We hope we can inspire others to do the same. But if you are in a position where you can help out, then she's told you how you can do that, and that would be great. Also, if you're in the Mansfield area,
Yes.
they can stop by, they can
Absolutely.
help, they can contact you or Brandon and Libby and find out how they can help.
Yeah.
And what if they wanted to drop off things? Maybe I know I have friends who in the past, because we like to draw attention to those say charity organizations and that kind of thing. And I've had friends that say, well, I'd rather give items, and that rather than money.
Wonderful.
So if somebody was in the area, or even maybe if they wanted to send something, items, they could do that, right? I mean,
yes, it would be Upper Room Ministries, Mansfield, and that is at 309 Park Avenue West, Mansfield, Ohio, and the zip code is 44906. Or if you wanted to get in touch with me, I am at Jessica Steensland at gmail.com. And Steensland is STEENSLAND. And that is directly related to Upper Room Ministry. So, yes, if you have any questions or anything, yes, we love having visitors. And this house is amazing. Like, this house is, like I said, one of the first houses in Mansfield. And it has, like, murals, like, painted on ceiling. It's just the most unique house in the world. So, anytime you're in the area, please get a hold of me, stop by, meet our children, look at this house. It would just be amazing. See the beautiful garden.
Yes, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Mansfield's right in the smack dab middle of the state, right?
Yes,
pretty much.
It is. And we are right downtown Mansfield.
All right. Great. Thanks for sharing that contact information with us. Yes. Is there anything else that you can, that we need to know about the ministry at all?
That I can think
All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thanks for joining us. I'm totally just on cloud nine that this conversation happened today. I am absolutely loving this. This is, as far as I'm concerned, like, this is so closely related to the vision that we have as a family in a lot of ways, in terms of, like, bridge building and grace and loving people and feeding people and being present and unified. Like, it's so beautiful. I'm so grateful that you joined us today. I'm so grateful that that Katie has you, like, in her life, right? Katie, you know some amazing people. I do. I'm very blessed. What a blessing.
I'm very thankful for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
so I'm going to include all this information, all their contact information will be available if you read the caption below this podcast, you'll find all the information. It'll also be over on our Casseroles and Tacos Instagram page. And I think what we need to do, Katie, is on our website, we'll put a contact form, and I'll put it up there too. Because this has not been the first time that I wish we had contact form information for someone. So I'll put the information on the website as well. So you guys will have plenty of opportunities to reach out, get the information if you'd like to support Jess or the Upper Room Ministry, or want to send something their way or drop something off if you're in the area. I think that would be really wonderful. So I'll put all the information there. We'll make it really readily accessible for you. Go out and support, do what you can, guys. And, pray at least, right? We can all pray for them. We can all say a prayer. We all have that available to us to share. So thank you, Jess, for joining us. Thank you, Katie, for introducing Jess to us. And
absolutely.
Yeah, we look forward to continuing this conversation over on Instagram. If you're not following us on Instagram, go join us at Casseroles and Tacos for more information about today's episode or to discuss it. We would really love to do that too. So I guess if there's nothing else that anybody would like to say.
I don't think so. That's
all right. All right, guys. And
That's
we
it,
will.
Jess. Thanks so much, Jess, for coming.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And we appreciate your time. So thanks guys for listening. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. And we hope, as always, that this episode highlights that love is the best ingredient. So thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.